time, Dr. Freeman? Is it that time again?
What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Franchise Unpacked. This is your host, Dave.
And this is your other host, Zach.
How are you, Zach?
You know, I'm doing pretty good.
Good.
Doing pretty good. I think I might have said it on last week's episode too, but like, this is like the hard-hitting allergy season for me. It's kind of like year-round for me. Like every new season, it hits me, but
Sure.
man, like all day, if I sound like I have like the Black Plague, I'm fine. It's just those allergies,
Stuffed
man.
up. Yeah, I mean, it's these transition months. It's starting to get a little colder here.
Yeah. What about you? What's going on?
I'm doing well. We're a little pooped. Kim had her wedding shower this last weekend, so we're
Nice.
busy prepping for that and getting all the boxes and whatnot. But it's exciting stuff. Wiped out, but it's exciting.
Yeah. It's all good things to be wiped out with.
Absolutely.
Which is, I mean, I'm right there with you. It's like, just life is busy, but life is good. And you know, I was actually thinking about this earlier today. I'm gonna have a cheesy, sappy moment with you and the guests, with you and the nerds. I just realized, I was like, man, this podcast, we're going on like 38, 39 episodes, somewhere in there. I've lost track, not including the mini-sodes. I'm like, we've done this for so long now. Like, we started in what, January?
Yeah. So we're closing in.
Yeah. It's just, it's nuts to me. And it's one of those things, like, I enjoy doing this so much that I think I would feel very off if I didn't do this in a week.
It's weird,
if we had like a week off or something, I wouldn't like it.
I'm like, well, it's too much time.
I feel odd.
Yeah.
But anyway, you guys, today we're talking about a classic, a modern classic. We say that a lot, but
we do.
I mean, this one though, truly, I think, especially in the video gaming,
it was
circles,
a game changer.
Yeah. Pun intended.
Oh yeah.
So we're talking about Half-Life, as you know from clicking on this title.
Yeah.
And it was when Dave and I were discussing, like, okay, well, which episode do we want to do next? You know, do we want to do another video game, a movie, TV show? And we were scrolling through it. We have like this list that we look through of just franchises that when we started the show, we just listed them all out. And we got to Half-Life, and it was just like a pause. We were like, yeah,
let's do it.
Yeah, this is the one.
I haven't done that in a while.
I got to ask the question of the week. What was your first experience with Half-Life? Like, what got you into it?
When it's weird. The first experience I had, it was a few years after the very first game had come out. There was all this buzz being built up in 2002 for Half-Life 2. Because that was in production. There had been a lot of setbacks with it. It had been delayed a lot. So there's always this buzz. And I had heard about Half-Life. I had heard about Counter-Strike, but I'd never played them. And my brother, I think it was I was in middle school. I think it was in 8th grade. So like 2002-ish. He got it I believe for Christmas, or his buddy. It was back when you could give your friend a CD of a game, and you could still install it and play it without
like the code
on the same copy.
Yeah.
So I played the crap out of Half-Life, and I really loved it because really kind of like the only experience I had with first-person shooters before that was Doom, GoldenEye, stuff like that, and this added. You know, what I loved about GoldenEye was there was the addition of like computer terminals and like things to interact. You could shoot the lock off. I remember in the first level, you shoot the lock off the gate. And I was like, that's so cool. Like, okay, you're interacting beyond a level of just pointing and clicking. So and then Half-Life did that beyond. Like, you could take your crowbar, break into areas and like, you know, break open boxes and stuff. And I was like, okay, this is an awesome new step. Yeah. And they were using, I believe, like the Unreal Engine, which
it was the Quake engine.
The Quake engine, before. And then they switched over to the Steam and all that stuff. But Valve,
which I actually have a lot of cool notes that I was able to find on that too. So I'm excited.
Well, we'll get to that. And I remember, I remember playing that, and I remember playing Counter-Strike 1.6, which was the original OG.
I had that for Xbox.
Like they did the orange box, right? Did they do an orange box release of that one?
No, it was like for the original Xbox. There was like a version of Counter-Strike that was, I don't know if it was like the exact same. I think it was 1.6 though.
Probably it had to be. It was because that was well before Source.
Yeah,
the Source engine came out. But what about you? I mean, and we'll get into the actual plot and history of the game in a minute. But what was your history with it?
So, and you guys, we're going to be discussing in this episode. It is a Half-Life episode, but we're going to be talking about Counter-Strike and Team Fortress 2 and Portal and all these other.
They're they all connect. Mostly Half-Life we'll discuss, but they are very important.
So if you hear us mentioning those, that's why. But for me, my Half-Life experience actually started with Counter-Strike Source.
Yeah.
So I played Counter-Strike Source a lot and I loved it. And then that got me into, what was it, Gary's Mod?
Yeah.
And I'd play that a bunch and for anyone who doesn't know what that is, it was like a total free-form sandbox, build whatever you want game.
Yeah.
You could drop in NPCs, enemies, you could, build fortresses, you could make your own games in it. It was amazing. And then I realized, I was like, okay, well, these are all like basically Half-Life 2 mods. What's Half-Life 2 all about? So I actually started with Half-Life 2.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, I've actually never beaten Half-Life 1. I've gone back and played it.
It's tough.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's very difficult.
It's a long game from what I remember. But I picked up Half-Life 2, and right out of the gate, I was hooked. I mean, hooked. I don't think I left my computer for like 3 days, 4 days straight.
It's stunning. It was truly a stunning game. And I remember like the release of it, all the build up, they're showing videos of it. Like, look at just it was just a huge leap.
Well, and I didn't even have that build up. I didn't even look at those trailers. I was just...
My buddies Joe Campbell and Andrew Yasso, shout out to you guys if you listen to this. But I remember going to my buddy Andrew's house, and we were playing Counter-Strike 1.6 together. And we could play on he had multiple computers in his house, and we could all play together. But they were like, Dave, you gotta come check this out. And they showed me like the preview videos. They're like, I've already pre-ordered it, and like, look at the trailer for the game. And I just remember seeing him be like, oh man, this is stunning. Yeah. This is out of control.
Well, and the thing that really caught my eye about it specifically was it was the first game, one of the first games to, I think, take full advantage of the Source engine, which...
Oh, they built it for it.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
I believe so.
They created it with it.
There's kind of a build-up that led to the Source engine, which we'll get to. Yeah. But the thing that was so interesting to me was... this engine was able to run this incredible, beautiful looking game on computers that weren't necessarily, beefed up. I was using my parents' old computer and I was able to run Half-Life 2 just fine and Counter-Strike just fine, which it was incredible. They made it so much fun. I didn't have to go and spend all this money on a huge, gaming computer.
You could turn down all the, you could turn down the graphics to what you needed them to be.
Yeah.
But so for a little bit of history of the game, the first Half-Life game came out in 1998.
Yes.
And it follows the main character of Gordon Freeman, who is a theoretical physicist.
Yes. Yeah.
MIT graduate. He's a genius scientist guy. Got glasses, got the cool goatee.
Yeah, basically Walter White.
Yeah, looks very much like a Walter White with hair.
Yeah.
And what he works at a place called the Black Mesa Research Facility, and it's out somewhere in like Arizona. It's in like the deserts, I think in Arizona or something like that.
Right.
And while working there, he inadvertently opens up a rift, or their experimenting goes on, opens up a rift to another dimension, or I don't know if it's another dimension necessarily, but like aliens start coming through.
It is. It's
demons.
to Zen.
Xen.
Xen, which is sort of like this interdimensional, almost like a what's the word?
Like the upside down almost.
It's like limbo. It's
where 11 goes in Stranger Things. That really dark place.
Somebody referred to it online as a subway station between universes.
So and these things are just waiting for a door to open and to like run out. So of course he fights them back, yada yada yada, and of course during this fight back, the government agency comes in and tries to shut it down too. So you're working against the Black Ops and these aliens. So it's like
the Combine come in episode 2. In
Half-Life 2 is Combine.
Yeah.
And which is an interesting...
Why am I blanking on the name of the final boss?
The Both.
The final boss from Half-Life. It was like Monolith.
Monolith?
Hold on.
From the first one or the second one?
Nihilanth. Not Nihilanth.
Nihilanth.
Yeah, does that sound right?
Maybe.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's. But that was kind of interesting too, because the first game took this approach of sort of this very extraterrestrial feeling. I mean, the second one has that too, but this Nihilanth that you fight at the end is just this creepy fetus-looking, like boss baby.
Yeah, there are far more monster-esque in Half-Life 1. When Half-Life 2 comes around, it actually takes place 20 years later. Spoiler alert, at the end of Half-Life 1, you're kind of thrown into stasis.
Yeah, well...
You're pulled into the...
So before we get into Half-Life 2, I want to take a quick step back.
Yeah, we do need...
Because I want to talk about Gabe Newell. So Gabe Newell, he's one of the founders of Valve. Mm-hmm. He founded it with Mike Harrington. And so this dude, he's like Harvard dropout, but he's a genius. He would just take he like helped port Doom over to Windows.
Oh, wow.
Because people were saying like, oh, Windows isn't a gaming platform, and he was like, no, let me show you. Yeah. So like he was big on that. But he teamed up with Mike Harrington to create Valve on my birthday in 1996, August 24th. And so Valve was working with the Quake engine, which is what Half-Life was on. But they ended up, the reason that Half-Life looked so good, so much better than Quake, is they were modifying the engine so freaking heavily that eventually that engine became Source. So they basically took this engine and they tweaked it. They made it so much better. Tweaking. And that's what led to them being able to create the Source engine.
And that's kind of their whole mentality with all the sequels of this game, or all the episodes. It's everything is a modded version of the previous. Almost, it's like they built this whole game. And Counter-Strike is a mod,
right?
It's basically a reskinning mod and some
the way
physics
that they had
changes,
this engine set up was, especially for Half-Life, they released, I forget what it was called, but it was like almost like a sandbox builder, kind of like Gary's mod.
Yeah, kind of like that.
But it was for Half-Life 1, and that's where people created mods, and if they liked the mods enough, they would support them. Yeah. And that's how we got Team Fortress, the first one.
Yeah, we got servers dedicated.
Yeah, and so that led to, Team Fortress 2. You get mods that were, there was one mod for, I think it was for Counter-Strike. So again, that's a mod of a mod of a mod almost, but not that Counter-Strike was a mod, but you know what I'm saying. They modded it so that a bunch of NPCs with knives would chase you, which led to Left 4 Dead.
Yeah.
They saw another game company developing this Portal-esque game, and they said, hey, use our engine, come work for us. And then we got Portal.
Portal is in fact in the same universe as Half-Life.
Yes.
They actually share, and it's funny reading this article. I'm on a Wikipedia article right now, and the very first sentence of Half-Life 1's article is the first game in the Portal series.
Right.
And I'm like, oh no. Oh man. You should say Portal is the most recent game in the Half-Life series. Let's put it that way.
But I just thought it was really cool that they backed up mods like that.
Yeah.
And then the last thing that I wanted to bring up before we really dive into Half-Life 2 is it ran off of Steam. It was actually the first game to ever require that you have a Steam login and Steam set up on your computer to run it. And Steam was also created by Valve, which now is their powerhouse. I mean, that's how you play games on your computer nowadays. So that was I thought that was a really interesting sort of chain of events. This guy, Harvard dropout, teams up with another programmer. They create Valve. They get the Quake engine. They modify it. They make the Source engine. They make Steam. And it just becomes this behemoth. I know that I use that word a lot, but it's true. It genuinely did just blow up to being this huge proportion, which led us to Half-Life 2. And like you were saying, so what happens at the end of Half-Life 1 is the G-Man, who we'll talk a little bit more about. There's some history there, but the G-Man puts you in this state. He basically says, you can come and work for me, or you can die. And if you turn him down, obviously he transports you to this room where these like things just, annihilate you. They're like alien creatures. I don't know exactly what they are. But then if you say you'll work for him, he puts you in a stasis, essentially.
Puts you to sleep.
For 20 years. And then the beginning of Half-Life 2, you wake up on a train, and it's that when I open up the episode with that like time, Dr. Freeman. Is it that time again? And he wakes you up to go do work.
And he's sending you to a place called City 17. It's an Eastern European city. What has happened in the 20 years since the events of the first one, a race of interdimensional police, basically the Combine.
Yeah.
They've exploited the rifts that were open in the first one and have come through. Now the Combine consists of, they utilize aliens, like those tall, the stalkers and stuff.
Which are so cool.
Which are really cool. You got to take them down with rocket launchers. It's really awesome. They use, and like the flying creatures and stuff. They've utilized this. They're like weird mechanical alien hybrids, but then they're also humanoid. The Combine is run by walking, talking human.
They almost sound like they're all talking through a walkie-talkie.
It's really creepy and cool. It's like it almost in the new Star Wars movies, Kylo Ren, when he wears his mask, it sounds like that muffled walkie-talkie.
Right.
And it's gibberish and like code gibberish that they're the Combine speaking.
And you can, and sometimes they'll speak to you where you can hear them.
You can hear. You'll hear the actual words, because it's like, which confused me. I was like, so are these people ruling and also using aliens? But then you realize no, they're all from another dimension.
Right.
And they've come and taken over Earth.
Yeah.
And you're sent there to kind of
and an interesting thing with the Combine is they're able to teleport between dimensions and between universes. But once they're in a universe or a dimension, they can't teleport within that.
They can't leave.
So they can go somewhere else, but
they can't like shoot to you in another country or something.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, that's really interesting that they added in that detail.
Yeah.
That's something else that leads to the G-Man discussion later. Just keep that in mind.
Oh yeah.
Because I watched way too much game theory in prep for this episode, and it got me jazzed.
G-Man's, he's he's like it's why I like that season of or the first season of Haunting of Hill House on Netflix. There's all the fun ghosts you see in the background.
Right.
And the G-Man is exactly that. In Half-Life 1, he does the same thing.
Yeah.
He's popping up. You'll open a door and you'll be in a long hallway. And at the very end of that hallway, you'll see another open door, and that G-Man will be standing in it staring at you. And as you approach, he then closes the door and then he's gone. Well, or he'll be up in a window in a building when you're walking down a street. And he'll just glance at you, and he's always holding a briefcase. Yeah. And the little rumor has it that one of the theories is that the G-Man is Gordon in the even further future, because they have the same exact color eyes. Their structure, their facial structure is the same.
So the theory that I heard, I guess I can just say it now, is that the G-Man is a Nihilith. He's another one of the bosses that you fight at the end of Half-Life 1. He has the ability to teleport because he's moving around all over the place. And then he's got like this sort of interdimensional feel to him. He's got this sort of control over time and space. So he has all of those same powers. And there's mention of Nihiliths that were before the one that you fight, like almost different versions of it. So
I like that. I like the idea that because they've put Portal into this series and they put all these other, it's actually in the universe, that this G-Man, there's this company like owned Black
Aperture
Mesa,
Science.
Aperture Science, that owns Aperture, that owned Black Mesa.
Right.
And he is a true government man. He's he's a company guy. Right. But it looks like he's teleporting everywhere, but it's just that he's just
interesting.
There.
Yeah.
You run into him. He never appears in front of you. You turn and he's been in a window looking at you the entire time. You're like, oh, how long has he been there?
Yeah.
Whoa, that's super scary. And then he walks off. And then you won't see him for another 20 minutes into another area.
And the other cool thing with Half-Life 2 especially that I wanted to talk about, they're a great example of how to teach your player a game. Mm-hmm. So I've mentioned it on the show before, but there's a YouTube channel called Game Maker's Toolkit.
Yes.
I think the channel's called Game Maker's Toolkit. The guy that narrates, his name's Mark Brown. He's incredible. He does a great job of like analyzing all these games. And he talks about how when you're playing Half-Life 2, they show you how to do everything.
Yeah.
Like they tell you a few things, but even if you take having to pick up that soda can that the guy throws at you, you learn how to pick something up, you learn how to throw it. My favorite example is when you get to Ravenholm, which scary as hell.
Yes.
When you get to Ravenholm, the first time you see a zombie, it's behind a fence, so it can't hurt you. So you're introduced to it. The second time when you're maybe not the second time, but when you're getting ready to see how to use a saw blade, your path is blocked with saw blades.
Yeah.
You pick one up with the gravity gun, and a zombie walks out in front of you. There's only one button to push.
Yeah.
And then you throw it, and you realize, oh, I can chop these guys in half. The whole game does this incredible job of teaching you how to play as you play.
Portal did it as well. They have this they're like, look at all of the physics that we have created with this engine. Look at what you can, it's like, there's so much you can do in this world that we've created. But we're not just going to list it out for you. We're not going to make you read a bunch of stuff. We're not going to make you do the stupid, 10 million repetitive tasks.
Which is awful.
And it's like, GTA 5 also did a very good job. They start you literally in a high stakes bank heist where you have to shoot your way out, get in a car, escape police. So it's in a mission. It works. It's thematic. Like you said, you have the gravity gun, you pull the saw, you have to get through. Right. But as you do, it triggers it forces you to use it because it's like, this activated the zombie coming out. Like you said, there's only one thing you do unless you want to switch your weapon, which I don't know why you would. Yeah. Because you're like, wait a minute, I'm holding a floating saw blade right now. What do you think I'm going to do?
And it does a...
Excuse me, I'm dying.
Oh, goodness. Oh, gosh.
Jeez.
His second weekend are always dying on Mike.
I'm back. We're back.
But it's great, too, that they teach you that without saying a huge text box on screen, press right to, throw saw blades at.
And you mentioning the gravity gun, that right there, you don't get the gravity gun till like maybe about halfway through a little more than halfway through the game, maybe.
Until that's
which is the greatest thing.
Yeah.
You're already good at the game. You already know the mechanics. You know the physics. You know how to operate within the world. And then they give you something. They're like, okay, now that you're good at this, we're going to give you the ability to play in it.
Right.
And it's just, and it's not like everything's necessary that you need. You do need the gravity gun for several puzzles, of course.
Yeah.
But
and then there's like
just,
the upgraded gravity gun that you get.
And the cool thing is they're like, now this gun, it only can manipulate objects. It can't create, it can like it can't do like a force pulse. It can't like shoot any enemies in like bullets or anything. But that's the thing. Like, so if you want to use this in combat, you better be good at our physics engine. But if you are good at our physics engine, it's much more fun.
Yeah.
You can have a blast. And then eventually you can pick dead bodies up and be throwing them around at dudes.
That's when you get the upgraded one when you're at the Citadel.
Yeah.
Which is just a blast.
It was the AI for Half-Life 2, it set so many standards for first person gaming in 2004.
The AI was great. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, I think it was the first game in like the first person shooter genre to actually properly incorporate puzzles and action.
Yes. Now, this might be a little ahead of its time and I might be mixing games, but could you, if you were ever, you remember those times you would meet up with like freedom fighters and you'd help fight them and fight with them? You couldn't give commands at all, or like basic like point, click, and hit E to send them. I think that's way ahead. I'm like jumping the gun on that. But the AI was still very intelligent, including when you run into when I remember there's the scene when I think first get the pistol. When you first get a gun, you're in like it reminds me of in Terminator 2, there's when the motorcycle chase, it's that famous LA riverbed. It's under a highway. It's a very famous basin. You were in like this, you're like, oh no, there's this fence. I'm in like a sewer drainage. And you start to hear that, all those guys, those voices, and they start running in. And I was like, oh crap, here they come. They know I'm a threat. And they sent one of those little probe guys at first that take your picture and get really annoying and like click flash lights in your eyes. And I remember shooting that down, and then that triggered them, and I was like, oh, they're taking active cover and not just running, like continuing to run out into the open at me like Perfect Dark or GoldenEye. They know I'm here, they're not going to hide around the corner.
Of course, it had like the super fun ragdoll physics. Whenever someone would die, they just start tumbling.
And it was like, and like we're saying, it was a huge leap, but these were still hilarious times for ragdoll physics. It was 2004, guys. We didn't have,
it wasn't all the way there yet, but
crazy, but it was a huge jump.
It still holds up.
Yeah.
And then they even made, so they had not really DLC, but they had like expansions.
Episodes 1, 2, and supposed to be a third, but never happened. But they even had, what was it called? It was like a tech demo called Lost Coast. I don't know if you ever played that, but it was a really, really short, just like almost like a mini story. 30-minute level.
Yeah. There was no really even combat. You were just kind of walking through and observing the scenery.
Gordon... His goal is literally to climb a cliff and destroy a combine, like artillery or something.
Yeah, was there combat? I don't remember.
And literally, they put you on a cliff to show you massive draw distance.
Yeah, so and that was the point. How good the water looked.
And how good, look. And this was a huge step up from Half-Life, which had just came out the year prior. And this was just DLC for that game. So they're like, look, the rest of the game does not look like this, but this episode does.
Right.
And we're modding it so that, eventually, if there is a Half-Life 3, it could be this capability. Which
brings us to the present of the franchise.
Yeah, well, a little bit. Let's talk about, we did mention Counter-Strike and Portal.
Yes.
Briefly, Portal, so much fun. If you guys haven't played Portal or Portal 2, check it out. It's exactly
one of the
how
best
fun.
games I've ever played.
It's all like hilarious narration by awesome actors.
Yep.
And J.K. Simmons is in. He's great. But the idea is you're at a lab experiment and you don't know what's going on, and they give you a portal gun that can create an orange and a blue portal, and they connect, and you got to figure out all these amazing physics puzzles by either you going through the portals.
Puzzles I've ever played.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Especially when they start doing the thing where it's like, you've got to shoot a portal up there, then put one right at your feet, get up to the ceiling, then drop another one so your momentum continues.
Right.
And it's like, that's brilliant.
And then fire one off to the side so that you fire in a different direction.
Yeah, when you finally shoot down again, you have enough momentum then to shoot across. It's just
so
brilliant.
good.
So please do it. If you don't check out any game, even Half-Life, check out Portal, because it is far more a smaller kind of just a more fun, put it down, pick it up.
You know,
a lot of fun. Yeah. Whereas Half-Life's got a little more story.
And they did release the orange box for the Xbox 360.
Yes. Which were, ports.
Yeah.
Ports.
It might have been for PS3 as well. But yeah, it was ports of these games. And
it gave you Half-Life 2 and both episodes and Counter-Strike Source.
Not Counter-Strike Source. No. It gave you Team Fortress 2 and Portal. Team Fortress 2.
Team Fortress 2, also great. A lot of fun multiplayer deathmatch. So a lot more cartoony than these games. Very cartoony, fun. Just if you type in Team Fortress and look at a picture, you'll be like, oh, it's like stylized, cell shaded almost.
I'd be surprised if you haven't seen like a meme from it or something.
Oh, I'm sure. Usually the sniper, the cowboy hat sniper is a big one.
Yeah.
And then Counter-Strike. Now, I played the crap out of Counter-Strike.
You and I both, man. That was one of the first ways that you and I became friends.
Yeah, we had a Counter-Strike party in my apartment. Everybody brought over their computers and stuff. Back in the day, bringing your PC over to somebody's house.
Party.
I used to play, like, we weren't ranked, but we would play league matches and stuff. And we would, like, every week, these crazy 5-man teams.
I just, digression.
Shoddy Rush B.
I remember when it was, again, one of the first times that you and I had hung out. It was a Counter-Strike Source LAN party at your place. And I remember the moment that I knew that you and I were going to be friends. We were going to be all right. Was I was playing and I got like I'll admit it was a pretty nice kill. And I look over and you weren't looking up from your laptop and you just go, nice kill, Zach. Nice kill. You were
nice
like,
kill, Zach. Nice kill.
You were just so amped. I was like, all right, let's do this.
Oh man. Because Counter-Strike was the first experience game where it was a first-person shooter with locational damage.
Yeah.
Extremely realistic. One bullet will kill you, even if it's not a headshot. If you are shot in a vital, like a heart, without body armor, you're dead. Or you will take... If you are shot in the leg, you're going to take 95 out of your 100 damage.
And there was something so satisfying about like once you got the hotkeys down, a match starts, you know what gun you're picking, you know how much money
B1, B3, B3, B4, B2, all that. Oh, I still remember that. All those codes.
And it out.
You'd have certain guys, you'd have your sniper in the group, you'd have your your assault guys. It was I even remember like all the strats. Dave Simons and I had the fun. If things weren't going well for the team at the beginning of every match, we'd yell shoddy. If it was Dust 2, which was one of the most famous maps, we'd yell shoddy rush B if we were the terrorists, and everyone on our team would equip shotguns, and then all of us would immediately run through the tunnels into bomb site B. 5 people, shotguns and flashbangs, just shooting. And usually when you're playing a league game match, it's very tactical. And so when you bum rush a bunch of people getting up in their face, they don't know what to do. And every now and then we'd win a match. But if we were competing against...
We should go and play some CS Source. Or CSGO now.
CSGO, which is a global offense, which was amazing.
We should play that.
So... And then that kind of leads to the future of the franchise a little bit. So there was Counter-Strike Source with Half-Life 2. Then a few years later, they announced that Global Offensive is coming out.
Right.
Counter-Strike Go. And because they're like, listen, we've been upgrading we no longer are using Source, or we are using Source, but it's now not what you even remember it as. Yeah. So we've got all these new potential, and everyone's like, oh, goody, Half-Life 3. Yeah. This is the announcement. Nope, we got Counter-Strike. You're like, okay, great, which is weird. You're like, but Counter-Strike's always been like the multiplayer aspect of a Half-Life game.
Right. It's
when
like
you got Half-Life 1, you had the ability to download Counter-Strike Source. Right. Same with Half-Life 2, you could get Counter-Strike Source.
Yeah.
And then, but then everyone's like, where's Half-Life 3? Where's Half-Life 3? They were like, oh, we're still doing an episode 3 for Half-Life 2. And they're like, nobody wants that. And and then I guess a bunch of, in the mid to or late 2000s, a few writers dropped off and went to like the production studio that did like Epic Mickey. I don't know if you ever played that game, which is a really great dark Disney game. It was very cool for the Wii. But it just has fallen by the wayside.
And it sucks.
And it really sucks.
It's been a big, like people make fun of Valve. They say Valve can't count to 3.
They can't.
Because, they have Half-Life 1 and 2, episodes 1 and 2.
Team Fortress 1 and 2. Portal 1 and 2.
Like
And it's been 15 years since Half-Life 2.
I don't think we're getting an episode or a Half-Life 3. I don't think it's happening.
I don't think it's happening soon. I really think what they're doing, because have you heard about the Valve box?
Yeah.
It's their system.
Isn't it the Valve Index?
The Valve Index. Thing? I think that, or it's like basically their, yes.
Yeah.
I think because Half-Life's always been a first-person shooter, they're waiting until they have VR where they want it to be for a Half-Life 3 game.
I'd be okay with that.
I would absolutely be okay with that.
I would wait for
I would very much be okay. But here's the thing. We don't even have an announcement. I scoured the internet. We don't have rumors of writers rooms occurring. We don't have rumors of people being hired for nameless teams at these offices.
Right.
Valve there's no sign of it. So the only thing, which is very interesting, I heard was that J.J. Abrams is in talks with Valve. This was as of 2016 and 17, and it's still scripts are being written for a Half-Life film and a Portal film.
Interesting.
And I'm all about JJ being producer of it, because if you watch Lost, that was all about rifts and dimensions. Right. He's all about he did, he's all about that higher sci-fi, that like theoretical sci-fi.
Yeah,
I
very
call it.
Elevated.
Like in our world, but you can open up a rift and then everything gets wacky. Yeah.
Right.
So I would be very intrigued to see how they would go about a Half-Life movie. If they did, I don't want Gordon as the main character.
Let me ask you this then. Okay, so we're getting to, sort of the future of the franchise, what we want to see from it. What would you want to see out of a movie? And then we'll get to the game after. So what would you want to see out of a movie?
I would, if not a movie, episodic series, I think would be a little bit better.
Netflix would do great with that.
Yeah, you could have like an 8-10 episode series. You could have multiple characters in different areas. Like you've got scientists in the Black Mesa, then you've got scientists at Aperture, then you've got your higher up bad guys, the G-Man, figure out who the G-Man is. He would be like, I want to see the G-Man. He has to be inspired by the smoking man from X-Files.
I'm sure.
He's just the silent, stoic, suit-wearing G-Man, literally, who just doesn't say much. So I would love to see that kind of a character. Give us a Gordon Freeman, but I'd almost want him to be a Mad Maxian like he's not the main character, but he comes in and kind of helps and saves the day and is like and is a legend like he is in 2. I wonder
who it would follow though, because he's almost been given this elevated position.
He's a legend.
Like, I think I would be okay with it following.
That's why in Half-Life 2 it's so cool, because you only play as Gordon in Half-Life 1 until Half-Life 2, because there are 4 or 5. Right. There's Blue Shift where you play as a Black Mesa security guard who sees Gordon in other rooms. It's cool. All of the little quote unquote sequels to Half-Life 1 were all during the same time frame from different perspectives. In the Black Mesa.
Oh, okay.
It was all, and then there was Opposing Force, which you were the Black Ops coming in to stop it and kill Gordon. So it's this whole, you are playing all different viewpoints, which is another I had never seen before. And I don't think they'd done before by 98.
They probably used
a
lot of the same levels too, like the same level layouts, just
reversed them
into a different game.
Made them harder, and you're literally running backwards through the game or into other areas.
I think I agree with you on the television series or like a Netflix series. Mm-hmm. I think that would serve it a little bit better because there's so much story to be told there.
And combine the two, make it Half-Life Portal mix.
Yeah. I agree there for sure. And you could even really get into the nitty-gritty of the government conspiracies and what's going on in Black Mesa.
Would we play with time? We could do it where there's 20 years, there's a difference. You're seeing stuff in the past at Black Mesa, and then you're seeing stuff with Aperture and the fall of like City 17 and the fall of the Combine after that. And then, because they never give us a real time frame with Aperture. We know that it has been around since the 50s and 60s, because I love that you travel back through time basically through their laboratories getting all the recordings. So that's kind of interesting that Aperture is probably the main creators of They've been around the longest.
Yeah, it could have. Well, and also in Portal though, they do talk about in the song "Still Alive," like maybe Black Mesa. Yeah. So like
the incident. They always call it the incident.
If are they the parent company? Are they the one of
the? I bet it's a little nudge, nudge, wink, wink. They're trying to brush it under the rug. They know they screwed up.
I will say though, like as far as a future video game goes, to jump over to that.
Yeah.
I think for Half-Life 3, I think it'd be cool. It needs to follow the same formula. It's got to be a first-person shooter.
Yep.
If they make it VR, they need to make a non-VR version as well.
Yeah, it has to be compatible. And they might be waiting for that too, a successful port where you can have switch in and out freely.
Yeah. And then on top of that, you kind of just got my mind rolling on something. What if, there's always been something kind of a cool, I don't want to say gimmick, but something that's unique as far as a weapon goes in these games. Like you have the portal gun, the gravity gun. What if there was a gun that allowed you to fast forward or reverse time based on where, like almost like there's like a grenade lob, and where that grenade explodes, or there's like an orb of time that's different.
Even simpler, you bring in, because they're in the same universe, portal abilities into Half-Life. Either portal abilities just basic, or these rifts, they're not like That'd be cool. Half-Life 3 takes place before Portal 1. They're right before it, so they're working on the technology.
Right.
And instead of opening just regular portals like they've been trying to do the whole time, they eventually get there. These ones might open up time rifts or might be kind of all over, so you're not entirely sure what's going to happen.
I would really like that.
That'd be kind of neat.
That'd be awesome.
And then you can tie the universes together even.
Well, and we also want to know what you guys want to see out of these upcoming games.
Oh, yeah.
And, if we get an upcoming
because we're
game.
just in a drought. It's shocking with the advancements in everything and Half-Life and Half-Life 2 have been touted as both revolutionary games.
Yeah.
And that it's just, what are we doing?
Well,
Nothing.
and it's...
Well, because wait, now Counter-Strike Go, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No,
but
you're good.
They were a big E-League before, they were the first E-League games, I believe.
E-League.
E-League, like the big gaming leagues now?
Yeah.
It was Counter-Strike Go, and then, what's it called?
Overwatch?
Overwatch really took over, and then Fortnite. And then all that started.
Unfortunately, I'm not a Fortnite fan. We're gonna have to do a Fortnite episode.
We will.
I'm not gonna be.
We'll do a playthrough. We'll do play with it too. I think. Yeah.
I'm not. I don't know why.
That'd be a better video one.
I'm not trying to crap on Fortnite. I'm just not a fan.
No, it sucks.
Sorry if you're listening.
It was great
Fortnite.
at the time, and you're like, "Yay! This is gonna revolutionize how people play games with each other." And it could also,
and it did.
It will also be a help in the bridge of all cross compatibility.
It stole PUBG, but that's okay.
Yep.
It in some ways it improved, and so that's a whole.
We'll get into it.
That's a tangent. But I just wanted to say really quick before we go, because we're actually hitting the end of our time here. I just wanted to say thank you guys, because August was by far our biggest month.
We had a banner month.
Yeah, as a podcast. So, and that's all thanks to you guys for listening and sharing and subscribing.
Spreading the word.
Yeah, and I know that I've been a little bit behind on the YouTube uploads, so I'm going to get on that. But if you guys can, just rate us, subscribe to us, go out, check us out on YouTube.
Share.
Sharing is the biggest thing, honestly.
Sharing is caring.
And it can be fun. What's that from? Sharing is caring. It can be fun. It was like a commercial,
something.
I feel like.
Sharing. Oh, it's something.
Anyway, we'll
something.
We'll do a whole episode
weird.
on
now
sharing
it's
is caring.
weird that I feel like I recently just heard or read that, and I don't know
like
why.
Okay. and as you guys know from the mini-sode that released, we're going to have a cool sort of surprise, not really surprise, but we're going to be doing a lot of cool Halloween-themed things in October. So stick around for that. Dave, do you got anything else?
I don't think so.
I don't think I do either. Well, thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll be seeing you next week.
Take care, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. The next franchise we'll be unpacking is Rick and Morty. But in the meantime, feel free to drop us a line with any questions, comments, or future episodes at franchiseunpacked@gmail.com. Also, be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and Spotify. And be sure to share so we can keep these episodes coming your way. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.